I've lived in the same apartment for nearly 5 years, and nothing about it had ever seemed unusual. It was just another aging brick building in the quieter part of town. Peeling paint on the stairwell, the faint smell of mold that no amount of bleach could kill, and the sound of pipes moaning whenever someone upstairs decided to shower at 3 in the morning. Ordinary. Comfortably ordinary. That's why, when I first heard the signal on my old radio, I didn't think much of it. It was late, well past midnight. The kind of hour where the silence presses on your skull and the shadows look a little too thick. I had the radio on my kitchen counter, one of those heavy, analog ones I'd found at a flea market. Usually, I tuned it for background noise while I worked, a steady murmur of static and half-dead stations. But that night, the static shifted. Instead of the usual hiss, it clicked, like someone was tapping on glass. Then a long, distorted hum spread through the speaker, vibrating the counter beneath it. I froze with my coffee mug halfway to my lips, staring at the little red dial as if it might explain itself. Then came the voice. Faint, almost buried beneath the static, like it was fighting to push through layers of interference. A low, steady murmur. I couldn't make out words, not at first. Just syllables stretched too far, vowels bent into unnatural shapes. I leaned in, pressing my ear close. 39.6. It was giving numbers. Coordinates. I told myself it was a number station, one of those Cold War relics still out there, broadcasting gibberish. But even as I thought it, the hair on my arms prickled. Because the longer I listened, the clearer it became. It wasn't gibberish. It was directions. And the final words, rasped, cracked, but undeniable, were: find the door. The next morning, I tried to laugh it off. Tried to. But the sound of that voice had sunk into me, echoing in the back of my skull. When I checked the coordinates online, my stomach dropped. They weren't random. They pointed to a location less than 2 miles from my apartment. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I walked. The city was quiet, the streets damp from an earlier rain, lamps buzzing with dying light. I followed the map on my phone until I reached an old, abandoned factory at the edge of the industrial district. The building sagged against the night, windows like hollow eye sockets, doors chained shut and rusting. I thought maybe I'd find graffiti, or some weird art installation. Something explainable. What I found instead was a wall. Not just any wall, the back side of the factory, where bricks had crumbled away into piles of mossy rubble. And in the center of it, a door. It wasn't attached to anything. No frame, no hinges sunk into the factory wall. Just a black wooden door, standing upright on its own, like someone had dropped it there out of thin air. I circled it 3 times, my flashlight beam trembling. There was nothing propping it up. No wires. No trick. It shouldn't have existed. And yet, when I reached out with a shaking hand and touched the knob, It was warm. Almost feverishly warm, like skin. I yanked my hand back. That's when the voice whispered again. Not from the radio this time. From behind the door. Open it. I ran home. I told myself I imagined it. That I'd been awake too long, let paranoia eat at me. But when I stumbled back into my apartment, breathless and shaking, my blood turned to ice. Because in the corner of my living room, right between the bookshelf and the couch, there was a door. The same door. Black wood. Brass handle. Standing upright with no support. It hadn't been there when I left. My apartment was silent. Too silent. Even the pipes had gone quiet. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, trying to convince myself I wasn't losing my mind. But the longer I stared, the more certain I became that the door was breathing. The wood expanded and contracted ever so slightly, as if air was moving beneath its surface. Then, faintly, I heard it again. Open. The whisper. I should have run. Should have called someone, anyone. But my body moved on its own. My hand closed around the handle. And the moment I touched it, the lights in my apartment blew out. The room plunged into darkness. Somewhere inside the walls, something started scratching. I don't know how long I stood frozen, gripping that handle. My heart hammered so hard it hurt. The scratching grew louder, more frantic, as if claws were tearing through drywall from the inside out. Then the door creaked. Not fully open, just enough that a sliver of absolute blackness leaked through. Blacker than the unlit room around me. A void that swallowed the weak glow of my phone screen when I raised it. I swear I felt something on the other side. Not air, breath. Hot and wet against my face. And beneath it, the smell. Rot. Like meat left in the sun. I staggered back, but the door followed. It scraped forward across the floor, wood groaning, closing the distance between us without anyone touching it. I wanted to scream, but my throat locked shut. And then, from the crack of darkness, a single pale hand slid out. Fingers too long, joints bending the wrong way, nails blackened and cracked. It groped blindly at the air, searching. I dropped my phone. The light blinked out as it hit the ground. For a moment, the only sound was my ragged breathing. And then, the hand curled around the edge of the door. Something began to push its way through.